So it does bring in an interesting point. What we're seeing is there's a constant evolution of the analytics and maturity. And I'm wondering, from your point of view, where you see the future of analytics heading as it continues along its path of maturity.
Well, I think customers will continue to do more and more predictive analytics. I think there'll be training machine learning models. But I think there are two things that need to happen for us to continue to realize that. I think one is just education, becoming more literate, if you will, in terms of analytics and data. And the other is the tools themselves have to make things easier. I think right now there is a bit of a skills gap that exists, where you have physics PhDs or the modern data scientists, but there aren't enough of them. So how do we make it easy enough for non-physics PhDs to basically get value out of their data? And so that's what we're working on the vendor side, is continuously trying to make these more advanced analytics accessible to a broader community of users.
You hit upon something that is quite key, which is education. There's education of the individual, and there's also education from the executive side. So let's look at it from the education side, first of all. As executives look to, and you said it earlier, the digital transformation, migration to the cloud, as organizations, as chief data officers, CDAOs, and their business colleagues look to move their organization to this digital journey, where would you recommend an executive start from that side of education?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, part of it is publications like your own. I think reading about what is new and what people are doing. I think attending conferences, which of course currently have been in a virtual format, but hopefully in the not too distant future will become in-person events again. And I think there's a lot of advantage in those types of formats of learning what your peers are doing and hearing what others are doing. I think a lot of what I've seen has been the internet companies creating world-class infrastructure as a byproduct of their business, and then a lot of those lessons starting to kind of like trickle down to everybody else. And so, I always find it interesting to kind of see, what is Lyft doing? What is LinkedIn doing? What is Twitter doing? And how might that ultimately apply to me someday? It may not be today. It may not be fully enterprise ready today, but often those can be interesting predictors of where the world is heading. And I think one thing you would see there, for example, is a lot of usage of data lakes in these open data formats because of the optionality that they provide, and also the long-term economic benefit of storing data in a really inexpensive storage format and being able to interact with it that way. So, things like that, I think you can learn from watching talks and discussions of real practitioners and what they do. You certainly don't have to take our word for it, but I think it's better when you're learning from other practitioners. We do run an event called Data Nova, which is actually a great opportunity to see what other people are doing. We try to have a very small footprint in terms of the number of talks we give at that conference, and really put users at the forefront so that you can educate yourself on what others are doing.
It's actually, when you mentioned publications and then the virtual conference, I understand that you and your team will be speaking at the upcoming MIT CDO IQ Symposium in July. So for people watching that, I believe it'll be live streamed. They can record into that. Just to finish up on the education, we talked about the executive education. What about the analyst or the business analyst or business user? How does Starburst make their lives easier? What do you provide for that?
Yeah, well, first, it starts with what we don't do. And what I mean by that is we don't force you to change the tools that you're using, which is very nice. We support an ANSI SQL interface, JDBC and ODBC drivers, a REST API. So basically, whatever application or tool you are comfortable with, whether it's Tableau or Power BI or Looker or MicroStrategy, you pick your favorite tool. We support them all. And that means that your analysts don't have to learn something new. I think that's one of the biggest and maybe most important for many of our customers, because people get very comfortable with the tools that they know and love, and they don't want to necessarily have to go learn a programming language or learn some other new way of interacting with the data. So the front end stays the same. And I think that's that's sort
That's
of
huge. That's a huge benefit, right? They don't have to learn something new. They're absolutely on top of their existing jobs, and you go and you couple that with your fast engine. But yeah, so what else?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I think that's a big key part of it in terms of reducing friction. And then in conjunction with that, basically just opening up more of the universe to you. And what I mean by that is allowing you to now incorporate data in your analysis, in your work that you didn't have access to before. Maybe the marketing team has a particular data set that's of value to you, or the finance team, or the product team, or the web team. And now, through this sort of connector model, you have the ability to incorporate that data in the analysis you're trying to do and really craft a more holistic understanding of your business.